Welcome back, folks, to another edition of hashtag AskJSN, the weekly Money Mailbag video where we answer your questions from Facebook and Twitter right here in the studio forum. Lots of great questions this week coming out of WrestleMania 30, the epic Monday Night Raw from last week, the unfortunate passing of the Ultimate Warrior, and much, much more. So with all that being said, let's get down to this week's questions. First question comes from Iram R. from Facebook. Thoughts on the streak? Do you think it was pre-planned minutes before the match or on the fly during the match? The decision was made. I don't think the rumor, I don't know where this rumor came from that the streak was broken during the match or it was a botch. From the moment it happened, I never thought it was a botch. It's pre-planned. They don't do this stuff on the fly. I do believe the rumor or the report going around that not many people were informed on the streak breaking. I understand that, to not have a leak go out or anything like that, that the finish wasn't written down for people to see, and the only people that really knew about it were obviously Taker and Brock. And I don't even know if the referee knew. I don't know if I believe that report that he didn't know, but regardless, I don't think it was a botch. I don't think the decision was made during the match just because Undertaker isn't looking good. We'll break the streak right now. The streak is too big of a thing to break on the spot, on the fly. You know what I mean? I don't think they made that decision halfway through the match of thinking, okay, Taker probably, based on his performance in this matchup, won't be able to go in future WrestleManias. Let's break the streak right now. I don't think that decision was made on the fly. That was definitely pre-planned, at least a week in advance. Do I think it was a smart decision to break the streak? I've already talked about that before, so I won't talk about that here. But I don't at all think that the decision was made during the match. It was definitely pre-planned. So don't believe the rumors that it was a botch or the decision was made on the fly. That's just stupid. Victor T, his question was, do you think the IWC or even WWE fans in general are really fickle? So for those that don't understand what the word fickle means, like a flavor of the month kind of thing, like you like your favorite wrestler, or you like this wrestler who's your favorite wrestler, but then you move on to someone else and you hate that wrestler, and your feelings change in that guy in an instant. I definitely think that the IWC, and I'm including this. If I wasn't including the IWC, I wouldn't be making this video for you right now. But even WWE fans in general, I think, are very fickle. Daniel Bryan, I don't think, is an example of that. Some people are saying, oh, he's only the flavor of the month. They'll be on to someone else by next month. Daniel Bryan, the whole Yes movement, has been huge for the last 2 years, not the last 2 weeks or the last 2 months, since the day after WrestleMania 2012. So I don't at all think it's a fad to like Daniel Bryan. It might be a fad to start hating Daniel Bryan. I've already started to see people start to turn their backs against Daniel Bryan because he's the new hottest thing in the company, and the IWC likes to like the underdogs. So I do think a lot of IWC and WWE fans in general are very fickle. I just think people this day and age are like that. You like your favorite flavor of the month. I mean, I think there's a distinct difference between liking someone. You're going from hating someone to liking someone because they either won you over or you are just liking them because everyone else likes them and just kind of going with the flow. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people are like that. With Daniel Bryan, I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Bryan starts to get not John Cena levels of hate, but not really hate, but I guess you know what I mean. That a lot of people start to turn their backs on him because he's the new hottest thing in the company, and they don't want to be a part of the Daniel Bryan Yes movement anymore. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised. But even still, though, I definitely think WWE and the IWC fans in general, specifically, are very fickle, as you put it. Jared J, his question was, as a podcaster, who are your top three wrestling living personalities to interview and why? Very, very good question, first of all. Secondly, I had to narrow it down to William Regal, first of all, because he's my favorite wrestler ever, and to interview him and to meet him would be a dream come true. That and the fact he's got so many awesome stories. He was on Stone Cold's podcast just a few weeks ago. I think he was on Colt Cabana's podcast at one time a couple of years ago. He has just so many amazing stories. Being in the business for 30 years, there's so much to learn from William Regal as far as the wrestling business goes, life experiences and stuff like that. So by far, William Regal would be a dream come to interview. And before I go any further, to interview any of these people would not be realistic, first of all, because I don't think I have that notoriety. I don't at all have the notoriety to interview any of these people. But regardless, this is a dream scenario. These are three people that I would love to interview. CM Punk, same reasons, one of my favorite wrestlers, but also because the backstage politics after leaving this past month or a couple months ago has a lot of stories from being in the business that a lot of fans probably don't already know. Just meeting him, I think, would be amazing, given the fact that he is one of my favorite wrestlers. So to interview him would be amazing. And finally, I don't think this is one name that comes up all that much, but The Undertaker. Is he one of my favorite wrestlers of all time? No, but I respect the hell out of him, and I love The Undertaker. He's just not my favorite wrestlers, if you know what I mean. But the reason why I would interview him is because The Undertaker, like William Regal, has been in the business for over 20 years now. And you have to think how many amazing stories he must tell. Undertaker never does interviews. He rarely makes any appearances in this day and age for media and stuff like that. Never makes any appearances at all. So I would love to interview him. Just pick the mind of the dead man. Some things, some untold stories that we've yet to hear. There's probably a million things he could probably tell the world, the wrestling fans, the wrestling universe in general, that he has yet to get off his chest because he's never written a book or anything like that. So I would love to see him do a tell-all book one day. That would be amazing. I know he told Stone Cold that he would appear on his podcast at some point. And if that comes to fruition, that might be one of the most downloaded podcasts of all time for Stone Cold. I think a lot of people would love to hear the dead man story out of character because it's not all that often that you see him not The Undertaker. You don't see him as Mark Calloway all that often. So, Regal, Undertaker, Punk would be amazing three people to interview for my podcast, in a dream scenario, of course. His second question was, what are your thoughts on the internet death hoax of pro wrestlers like the ones attributed to Roddy Piper and Chris Jericho this past week? I didn't hear about the Piper one. I read about the Jericho one this past weekend, but it's stupid in general. I don't think it's just wrestling hoax, wrestler death hoax. It's been going on for forever. Not even for wrestlers, just for celebrities in general. I know I've seen Twitter deaths, like hashtags and stuff, popular trends, RIP so-and-so. So I don't think you're a real celebrity until you get a Twitter death or a Wikipedia death or whatever. I just think it's dumb. If only especially dumb this week, especially after the death of the Ultimate Warrior, which some people thought was fake at first. I couldn't believe it. It didn't really sink in until a couple days later. So I think it was really tasteless to do it on this week. If anything, this Warrior just passed away not even a week ago as I record this. And I just think it's really stupid in general, but just really tasteless this week specifically after the Warrior's death, a legitimate death this past Tuesday. Paul S. His question was, now that the streak was broken and with Sting finally in the WWE, do you think it is possible we could see him in a match with Undertaker sometime soon, say maybe WrestleMania 31? So I'm going to clear up these reports real quick. You said that Sting is finally in the WWE. Reports are saying that he's finally in the WWE. I take that with a grain of salt, because reports have really been going back and forth. There was one released a couple days ago, I think on Friday, that said Sting is in the WWE. It's 100% confirmed. Sign the contract. He's in. He's part of the WWE roster. Blah, 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 blah. Then a report was issued, I think on either Saturday or Sunday, saying, not even a few days later, saying that Sting had yet to return the contract from the WWE. They sent him a contract. He has yet to return it to them, signed and all that kind of stuff. So now they're kind of saying that Sting hasn't signed the contract. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of false BS. And that Sting isn't going to announce, I've signed with the WWE, and WWE isn't going to do the same thing, because if they're going to want to debut him, it's going to be a secret, it's going to be a surprise. I'm not extremely disappointed that he didn't show up on Raw last week. I've said this before, but I'm not extremely disappointed, if only because that show was fully focused around the youth movement, aside from appearances from Warrior and RVD and people of that nature. But it was mostly focused on the new talent and the youth movement going on in the WWE right now. So I was fine that the show didn't end with Taker and Sting, because Taker didn't even appear on the show. I do fully think that we will see Sting in WWE as we get closer and closer to whenever this is, whenever they're going to have their match at WrestleMania 31. I do think the chances of him appearing in WWE are very likely that we will see Sting in WWE, whether it be with a match against Taker or not. If he doesn't wrestle, I would still love to see him in the WWE Hall of Fame. I personally would just want to see him in the WWE at least once. My opinion, the greatest wrestler ever to never compete in the WWE. So Sting, I think it's very likely that we will see him in the WWE. Will he face The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31? Some people have said that it is better that the streak is broken, because now his match with The Undertaker, or potential match with Taker at WrestleMania 31, would be more unpredictable. And I do agree with that, so I do think it's a likely chance that we will see that match at next year at WrestleMania. I don't think they should start building to it around Royal Rumble time next year. I think that's cutting it a little too early or a little too late. I think they should definitely start building towards it in the next few weeks, or have one of them appear in the next few months, you know what I mean? So have it do far out in advance, like the Rock and John Cena kind of thing, where you announce the match a year in advance and then you build towards it. So I would love to see that. And I don't think that his last match with Brock Lesnar, or Undertaker, that is, should be his last match. The build was terrible. The match itself, it was good, but let's face it, compared to Undertaker's past WrestleMania matches, that sucked too. I definitely, the concussion definitely had something to do with it. I understand that, but that's not the way Undertaker should go out. In that in-ring capacity, I think he should definitely go out on a higher note with more build, with better fanfare, so to speak, on his way out in his final match. So yes, I do think it's likely that we will see Undertaker versus Sting at WrestleMania 31. Jason R's question was, what do you think is next for Dolph Ziggler? It amazes me with the crowd reactions that he gets. He nearly has no direction, especially with an Intercontinental and United States Championships that have no contenders. There's a few ways I can attack this question. First of all, with the direction of Dolph Ziggler, it definitely is mind-boggling to me that they don't have anything for this guy to do. He had a winning streak going on before WrestleMania, and now in the last week he jobbed to Jack Swagger in 4 minutes on WWE Main Event last week, and then the very next day on WWE Superstars he jobbed out to Ryback, which is really weird. So I don't know why that was, but even still though, in terms of Dolph Ziggler and what they can do with him, with the youth movement going on right now, I think it's less likely that we will see guys like Kofi, Miz, Ziggler, Barrett. Well, not really Barrett, because Barrett did get pushed last week. But guys of that nature, that we won't see them get pushed because they have a lot of young blood that they will put a lot of their time and effort into building them up. So that being said, with Dolph Ziggler, I think they should definitely give him a solid feud, maybe work with Miz or not Kofi again. I don't know. They just got to give him something to do because I definitely think he's being underutilized right now and not doing anything with him at all. So it's ridiculous. And I don't think giving him the IC or US championships at this point will really help him. I don't think he's a lower card guy. He's definitely a mid card guy right now because he hasn't been in anything top tier or anything top profile in months. I think in at least a year since his world title feud with Del Rio. But aside from that, though, I don't think giving him a mid card championship would benefit him at all. And this is the thing. This is my problem with the mid card titles. We love to complain about Dean Ambrose not defending his championship, and I don't blame it on Dean Ambrose or Big E that they're being booked. They're not being booked well. I don't blame that on them at all. I blame it on creative, if anything. But I don't think a lot of people bitch and whine and complain and all this crap about, oh, Big E's he's a lame champion. Let's take the title off him, give it to someone else. How does that solve anything? How does giving the championship to someone else? If you give the championship to Kofi Kingston for a millionth time, how will that help boost the prestige of the IC championship? You know what I mean? A lot of people said the same thing about Curtis Axel. Take the title off him. He's boring. Give it to someone like Big E. Take the title off Wade Barrett. Give it to someone like Curtis Axel. It goes back years on end that people have been saying this. Having the title change hands a million times does not make the title feel more prestigious. And I'm not saying people are saying that the title should change hands every single week. But people are saying that the current champion, insert name here, should drop the title because they're not doing well as champion. It's not Big E's fault. They have to invest more time into their title defenses, and they were doing that at first with Big E. They had introductions to the Intercontinental Championship matchup in the ring, made it feel like a big deal during his title defense against Fandango a couple months ago. It's not Big E's fault. Dean Ambrose is a different story because he's in the Shield, he's in a 3-man group, they're sticking together, their faces, they're feuding with Evolution. Yeah, you can get the championship off him because he's not a singles guy. Big E is a singles guy. Keep the title on him, just book him better. There's no reason to take the title off him. That's stupid because whoever you give the championship to isn't going to treat it any better, more than likely. And it's not even the wrestler themselves, it's creative. They're not going to book them any better than they would a Big E or anyone else who have held the championship before. So that's stupid. But yeah, in terms of Dolph Ziggler, going back to your original question, they just got to give him something to do. They don't even have to give him a championship because I don't think he needs a title. Just give him something substantial to do. Give him some direction. Don't have him lose every goddamn week. That's annoying. So now moving on to the Twitter questions. At Chris Krieger, his question was, how would you grade Bischoff's 3.5-year stint as Raw General Manager? I think it was fantastic. Hands down, I think one of the best, or if not the best, Raw General Manager in WWE Monday Night Raw history. Got more heat than anyone else. Maybe not as much as Vicky Guerrero, but Bischoff was a tremendous heel. He made a lot of great decisions. He incorporated the Elimination Chamber match in storyline because I guess Triple H takes credit for it now because he actually came up with the concept behind the scenes. But he made that up. He brought up the World Heavyweight Championship on Monday Night Raw. He did a lot of awesome things during his 3.5-year stint as Raw general manager. And you usually don't get that long of periods of time as general manager. I know Teddy Long did on SmackDown a few times, but aside from that, GMs come in and out. And Raw GMs don't mean anything nowadays with the authority around, and they're basically powerless. A lot of people don't even know Brad Maddox is still employed by WWE. That's how bad it is. So I don't think Raw general managers are necessary nowadays. But back when they did matter, 10 years ago, when Bischoff was GM, fantastic stuff. How would I grade it? I would probably give it an A. He did a lot of great stuff as Raw GM. Tremendous heel, got a lot of great heat. The perfect example of how a heel GM should be. I think it was one of the best times in Raw history during the Ruthless Aggression era. So, yeah, I would give it an A, and definitely the best Raw general manager of all time. His second question was, or that's someone else, I'm sorry. At that, what she said, 86, his question was, do you think there will be another Austin Rock match? No. Nor do I think there should be. Rock is not done. I think he might have one more match. Even if he was done, I'd be fine with it. Because he came back to the WWE a few years ago to put over John Cena. Check that. He did that. So why come back now? If he's going to face, I don't really want to see him and Lesnar. It would be a good match, but a lot of people fail to realize that they would never be on the same fucking show. Lesnar has limited dates, and Brock, when he was champion, only showed up maybe 3 or 4 times before WrestleMania. So that match should not happen. Although the match should be good, I don't want to see that happen. It'd be stupid. But in terms of Austin, I think he maybe could wrestle another match, but if he's going to wrestle another match ever, it should be against a current star. CM Punk's currently gone from the company, but I would love to see that matchup. Him versus Cena even, because an icon versus icon. Austin versus, I don't want to say Daniel Bryan. I know a lot of people compare Bryan to Austin, but I don't know, two completely different styles. So Austin and Punk would be my dream match, but Austin Rock would make no sense because they've had their 3 matches. Austin went over the first 2 times. Rock went over in their final and third match. Austin's final match to date in the WWE at WrestleMania 19, clean no less. So I see no reason why they should have another match. I know some people were saying that after their confrontation at WrestleMania 21, or WrestleMania 27 rather, and as well as WrestleMania 30 in the opening segment. So no, I don't think they should have another match against one another. Rock should have another match against maybe like Roman Reigns or whoever else. But if they're not going to be facing young guys, then there's really no point. Like Brock Lesnar's a 1.5-year feud with Triple H was fucking stupid because it served no purpose at all. It put nobody over. Brock Lesnar looked more dominant in the end, but he lost that match at WrestleMania, so that was a complete waste of time, even though the matches were solid. But regardless, his second question was, do you still see a Sting versus Undertaker match happening? I answered this question before, but yes, I do. WrestleMania 31. Sting isn't going to come into the WWE. He's not facing anyone else but the Undertaker. He's not coming in to face John Cena. He's not coming in to face Brock Lesnar. He's not coming in to face Triple H. He's not coming in to face anyone else but the Undertaker. So if that match isn't happening, Sting isn't coming in to wrestle. If anything, he would come in to do network stuff and go into the Hall of Fame and maybe make a Raw appearance. And making him Raw GM is dumb. I don't know why people suggested that. It would take the mystique away from his character. Just go back and check out his Sting, the TNA days when he was general manager over there. It was stupid. It made no sense at all, and it was completely illogical. And that's what made me dislike Sting for a long period of time, because he didn't have that same mystique, and it was a complete waste of time. But yes, I do see that match happening at some point. Definitely at WrestleMania 31, it has to. If it doesn't, then there's no point in bringing Sting in to wrestle. At Abby VX, her question was, would you want to see, or who do you want to see main event WrestleMania 31? It's hard to say a year out. I mean, I wouldn't have said Daniel Bryan would be main eventing WrestleMania 30 a year ago. I definitely would not have said that. That came out of complete nowhere. But he's gotten himself so over in the last year or so that it made sense to put him in the main event of WrestleMania. So anything can happen between now and then. But who would I want to see? I know it's hypocritical, and from an unbiased standpoint, it would be hypocritical for this to happen. But as a fan of his, I would love to see it happen. Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk in an Iron Man match for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania in the main event. You have Punk as Royal Rumble winner, then Daniel Bryan as the champion. Whether Daniel Bryan holds the championship between now and then is a completely different story, nor do I think he will. But having Punk come back, win the Rumble, and then face Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania next year, I think would be amazing. But CM Punk left for the reason because part-timers are coming back and taking his spot. after he worked so hard and Punk hadn't worked hard for the last year, and then he comes back and wins the Rumble. It would be hypocritical for him to go for the championship for that match to even happen. So that's the unbiased standpoint, but from a fan standpoint, I would love to see that matchup, even though it doesn't make that much sense realistically. At JJF Tweets, his question was, if you could choose a WWE talent / legend to debate Nancy Grace, Colin Cowherd, or however you pronounce his fucking name, defending wrestling, who would you pick? So I saw the interview with Nancy Grace and DDP. She is a disgusting woman. That was a disgusting interview, completely disrespectful towards the Warrior. I didn't know about her interview with Chris Benoit, though I read up on it. I didn't read the ESPN interview with Colin. I don't know what the fuck that's about, but that was stupid too. I just read his Twitter, and it looked like he looked like a complete child for someone that's supposed to be representing a multinational company in ESPN. To be acting like that was fucking stupid. So I think that was very childish of him to do that. But who would I have defend wrestling? Very good question. Maybe John Cena, because he does so much charity stuff. He's the face of the company. He's the one to talk. And he can definitely say how much the company has changed. People don't fucking use steroids anymore. They have the drug policy and all that kind of stuff. So it's dumb for people to even make accusations about that. Sure, Ultimate Warrior even admitted himself that he did steroids. It was a different time 30 years ago. So and I think DDP did his best on the interview. He didn't really know what he was in for, but regardless, maybe John Cena, The Undertaker, one of the most respected wrestlers ever, I think would tear her a new one if she was. I can just imagine that right now. Undertaker being on her show, just completely tearing her a new one. It'd be amazing. But yeah, I guess John Cena or The Undertaker, really anyone, I guess, that's really passionate about wrestling, that knows the business inside and out, and how much it's changed over the last 30 years, and how people don't fucking use steroids anymore. RJ Micah, host from Wrestling Radio, his question was, who is your favorite wrestler of all time and why? Easy, William Regal got me into the business 6 years ago today, April 14th, 2004, baby. 6-year anniversary as a wrestling fan, so no better time to ask me that question. But yeah, William Regal got me into the business. Was one of the first wrestlers I ever watched. Still love him to this day. My favorite wrestler of all time. Very underrated on the mic, in the ring. One of the best wrestlers ever to never win a world championship. So by far, William Regal. At Cody Collier 12, his question was, how different do you think WWE would be right now if CM Punk didn't do his pipe bomb promo in June of 2011? Now, I'm not going to say WWE would be in the shithole right now if it wasn't for the promo, that it would be a completely different place. I don't think that at all. I think the promo itself revolutionized wrestling, and that I know a lot of fans that came back to wrestling because of that promo. I'm not going to say hundreds, but a lot of people that I've talked to have said that that promo brought them back into wrestling because it made the reality era, now that Triple H calls it that, was really born at that point in time. That the promo happened. His whole feud with John Cena was phenomenal. My favorite feud to date. But I don't think it would be completely different. I think maybe some things would be different. Daniel Bryan, I think Punk's promo definitely helped him. This is at that same event that Daniel Bryan won the Money in the Bank briefcase. So I'm not really sure how it would be different. I mean, Punk's not even here right now. So despite all the change that he caused in 2011, I do think he caused change. A lot of people say he didn't. I do think he caused change in 2011. I don't think that let me see. Let me put it this way. CM Punk, all the change that he caused during that point in time, despite all of that change, he's gone right now because he was fed up. So I don't think he would have gotten his longest championship reign ever as WWE champion had it not been for that promo. I don't think that would have happened. I don't think it would be completely different. I think maybe some things would be different. But even still, I don't think the year 2011 would be all that great. Because like I've said in a previous video, that was my favorite time in wrestling, and I don't think it would be without that promo. So that being said, I don't think that the wrestling landscape right now would be completely different, but slightly different. I do think it would be relatively the same for the most part, if not anything has changed at all. So I'll put it that way. At Jared Beadle, his question was, who do you think will face Daniel Bryan for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at Extreme Rules? It's right now between Triple H and Kane. It really all depends whether they do the Shield versus Evolution, whether they do Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns versus Batista, H, and Orton, or Batista, Kane, and Orton. I think they should save the real Evolution versus Shield match for a later date. But I think doing the Shield versus Kane, Batista, and Orton would be great. And then you could do Batista versus H, the rematch at Extreme Rules. And I don't know why people wouldn't want to see that matchup. I think their matchup at WrestleMania was great. It's not like we've seen see them do it all. I mean, they had one match that was their first time ever facing each other at WrestleMania. So I think that doing them in a rematch at WrestleMania, or I'm sorry, at Extreme Rules for the championship would be great. Do that 6-man matchup. I guess you could do Evolution versus Shield and then Batista versus Kane. I'm sorry, Daniel Bryan versus Kane, but we've seen that matchup a million times. It's never really anything great. They usually almost always put on very, very good matches. But we've seen that match a god-awful amount of times in the last 2 years. I have no desire to see that matchup. And it definitely would not mean an event either, considering the fact Kane's in the championship matchup. So I would say Daniel Bryan versus Triple H for Extreme Rules for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So with all that being said, guys, that ends this week's hashtag SGSM video. If you have any questions, leave a comment below on this video. You can tweet me on Twitter with the hashtag AskGSM at WrestleRant. You can like my official Facebook page at GrahamGSM Matthews. Leave a comment on the wall. All that great stuff. Make sure to subscribe, like, leave a comment, all that awesome stuff. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And with all that being said, thanks for watching, guys. And this is GSM signing out for next week, guys.